in-depth review of why I think the Datejust 2 is the most versatile Rolex. So stay tuned to that. But this one is actually something that it might be common knowledge to you, so you might not even get anything off of this. However, I figured that since it's been brought up multiple times in discussions with some of my buddies, they asked me, how do I clean my watch? And something we all want to do, I know it's very common, is we want to keep our Rolexes, we want to make them last the longest we physically can. And there's certain things that we can do in order to make sure that these watches can withstand time. The number one thing, I think, in my opinion, is to obviously have the bracelet fairly tight on your wrist. This keeps the head from bouncing all around, which in turn can mess around with the actual pins that are in the bracelet. Now I am talking about newer Rolex models. What I have here, I believe, is around a 2013 Datejust 2 41 millimeters. It is a random serial number. It is two-tone in gold. There's a lot of videos online how to show you how to clean your solid stainless steel watches. However, there's not a whole lot of them that show you how to do gold. And there's a few things in the ones that stainless steel videos are showing that they didn't work so great for me. So that's kind of why I'm doing the video. So without further ado, all you need is nothing crazy. No crazy chemicals, no steaming. However, that does work. All I use is Dial. I always use Dial. It tends to be the least greasy soap for me. It leaves the least amount of residue. A microfiber cloth. I use these very, very cheap napkins. They don't have any lint that's left over if you dab after you're done. That's one of the number one things. Always my microfiber cloths have always been washed, so there's no extra lint on them. If you go to dab it and that lint sticks to any excess water, you end up starting to want to rub the heck out of the bracelet, and that could potentially cause it to scratch, especially with these polished center links. Everyone knows the polished center links are fingerprint magnets. So I also use this one just happens to be a Tiffany cloth, but any cloth that would come with a watch or a pair of sunglasses, something very, very soft to touch, and a blow dryer, warm water, and a little bit of filtered water. So let's just get the water going. We want the water to be warm, not hot, not cold, just warm. Not just using regular old water, tap water. Now the water here in Florida has a lot of contaminants in it. It's very hard. There's lots of salts in this water, a lot of calcium. So I use that extra water that I've gotten from my filtered water from my fridge. It's now room temperature as a last minute rinse off, because this water will really leave spots on the watch. So the first thing I do, water is now warm. Just a little bit of soap, not much at all. Just a little bit of Dial soap, that's all you need. I work it with one hand, just enough to get a nice soap sud. A lot of people actually use toothbrushes, and I use that on my GMT. I've used it on a lot of my other stainless steel watches. Of course, sorry, I don't want to cut myself off, but make sure your crown is locked. I already checked this before I even started the video. Turn the water down so we have just a little bit less noise. But I found when I first got this watch, it was a little dirty, honestly, when I bought it from the buyer. And I found that it actually left small scratch marks. I mean, we're talking very superficial hairline scratches on the actual Dial, on the actual polished center links. But for me, I don't need a toothbrush. I clean my watch almost every time that I wear it, just to keep it looking super fresh. And all I do, literally, is just with my hands, just a little bit of soap. I do have oily skin, so my watch gets filthy. And I don't mean filthy as in dirt and grime. I just mean oil and fingerprints and stuff like that. I just work the bracelet a little bit. I do get all along the head. And I might need a little bit of more soap. We'll see. Because this isn't... I think, no, this will be plenty. And then I just run the watch under the water, and I'm just going all through my hand, getting really good behind the links. This is somewhere where I may, if I got the watch a little dirty, I may use a toothbrush. But as clean as, and I don't wear this watch a crazy amount of time. It's not my everyday wear. So I don't have a lot of like actual debris that's getting in this watch. I normally wear it on formal occasions and outings where I'm not outside too much. So I'm literally just rinsing the heck out of this. Now, I didn't have a whole lot of soap in there. Actually, use the same. This is the same soap that's in here. This is actually a little different soap, actually. This is an antibacterial soap, which I do use sometimes if, say, I wore it during a super hot day. This is also from Dial, so there's not really, that one's Dawn, this one's Dial. There's not a lot of residue left over with this one, and if there was any bacteria that maybe came from my skin or, sweat, this gets rid of all that, so just it won't cause any skin irritations. Let's just rinse that off. The number one thing I find is just making sure that it's being rinsed correctly. A couple times I did this when I first got it and I didn't rinse all the soap off, and it will dry and leave some spots, not really residue like a lot of other soaps, but it will leave a little bit of a residue. And notice I'm not using any tools, just my hands. Looking beautiful. All right, so now that we're done, just dab it off a little bit. And I just lay it flat on there. Make sure I get all the soap off my hands so I'm not actually getting it back onto the watch. I will take these super cheap napkins and I will literally just dab them. Then after that, use those to clean my hands off. I know I've already dabbed it, but I am going to rinse it with the purified water. Just a little. This water, you can almost tell, it almost beads off of the actual watch as compared to the hard water that comes out of the faucet. Then a step that a lot of people I see don't do is notice I have the blow dryer on warm. I literally just blow dry the watch. This gets all the extra water out between the links and I don't have to sit there and wait. I'm not using high though. I'm not using hot. And you can see that the bracelet using warm. They're all behind the bracelet. All right, enough of that. I mean, we still have a few beads of water, but you get the idea. And I'll just usually use one of these cloths or this. Since it's already wet, it's a little bit less harsh on the metals. And I will use anything on the, we've got a sapphire crystal, so we're not in worry of that. But other than that, that's all I do for the bracelet. And I mean, you can see this watch looks tip-top. I mean, it's super clean now. I mean, it looks near brand new. I don't have any water spots from when it's just sitting there drying. It's just a super clean looking bracelet and watch overall. One thing I'd like to add, and I'm going to do another review on it, but just while I have you in here, I haven't done it to this watch, but I have done it to other watches, is this cool little tool here. This is a refinishing pen. And it's really good for very, very small, minute scratches and scuffs on the brushed areas on these high-end watches. And the cool thing about it is a lot of people are really scared to use these because they don't want to affect their finish. And you're right, you don't have to do that. But for me, if I can get the watch to look near brand new at first glance, I'll take a few small imperfections because eventually I'll get it serviced by Rolex. And what you do is you actually, for the length of this fiber that's hanging out of here, the longer the fiber, the more harsh the brush links, the brush strokes. So if I was to have this little pen out this far, it would make almost like almost a vintage Rolex finish. And the closer in you get it, the more satin the actual finish is. And one thing I always recommend, I have a couple old clasps that I always practice on first before I put anything to another watch. But I have used this on high-end watches such as Zenith, etc. And it worked very, very, very well. And for watches that are fully brushed, it works excellent. Because if there's areas when you're refinishing the bracelet, say with a Scotch-Brite pad, there's areas in between the links that you can't really get with a Scotch-Brite pad, and this gets that. And you can kind of use this to satin out the finish because some of the green Scotch-Brite pads leave just a little bit more of a coarse finish like some of the older Rolexes. But I'm going to do a review where I'm actually using this. I just kind of wanted to show you guys, and let me know in the comments below if you'd like me to show you how I actually use this pen and then Scotch-Brite pads, etc. Thank you so much for joining me, and hopefully you learned something today, or you can properly clean your Rolex now with just a few minor household items.